Are you really ready to fuel your success as an investor in your personal mindset and being part of a community that wants every person to succeed? Welcome to the Thriving Investor Podcast with author, educator, successful non-traditional investor, Troy Fullwood. Turn up the volume and let's get you set up to thrive.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Troy Fullwood with the Thriving Investor. And today I've got an amazing guest with me, Mr. Michael Martinez, who not only is a guest, but he's a great friend. And Mike and I have known each other for well over a year now. We've spent a lot of time together in the New York area doing events and speaking events and visiting places like the New York Stock Exchange together. And I've gotten an opportunity to really learn a lot of things from Mike because he's a financial advisor and a pension advocate for more than the last 21 years. And he's dedicated to helping individuals with their pensions, income planning, investments, and preparing for the future. He started the pension group for exactly the same reason, to help people better understand their pension options, okay, which is key. Since then, Michael has helped hundreds of clients elevate their pension plans to help ensure accuracy and soundness. He heads a team of people out of Columbus, Ohio, at the pension advisor firm. He knows the importance of strong leadership, creative thinking. He's helped police officers, teachers, firefighters, and employees from various companies, including Honda, BMW, AT&T, 3M, and JCPenney, explore their pension options. So, welcome, Mike. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Well, as I mentioned, you and I got to know each other well over a year ago, and we spent some time at Harvard together, and then we spent some time at NASDAQ and the stock exchange. And every time our paths cross, I've always walked away learning something new about the world of pension advising and the world of people and their pension plans. And being self-employed, I don't always think about those things, but what I'm always surrounded by are amazing people who have built up pension plans. And they're getting to a point where they really want to figure out how to navigate with those. I mean, they've saved a bunch of money, they're getting close to retirement age, and what would be an idea or a tip or insight that somebody could take away, like just even right now, what would be a nugget that you could share with people on what they should be thinking about as they get close to retirement?
Well, I mean, first off, I would say is, a lot of things are changing when it comes to people's pension plans out there. And what I mean by change, let's face it, a lot of companies back in 1980, 40% of the Fortune 100 companies offer pensions. Today, less than 2% of companies offer pension plans. There's still a lot of people out there that have these pensions, and as they get closer and closer to retirement, they need to understand the mechanics, how their pension works. A lot of corporations today are trying to get out of what we call pension liability. They don't want to become the next GM, 3-4 generations of people getting a pension check and then finding out later on down the road, people are getting half of what they got. There's a lot of major corporations out there. I grew up in Canton, Ohio, where I had cousins work at the Hoover Company, the vacuum, sweeper company. They were getting $2,400. Now they're getting $1,200.
Wow.
My mom, personal, situation after 21 years working at a meat packing plant. My dad's a retired fireman. My mom lost everything, lost her pension. So again, there's examples of major iconic corporations out there, from GM to Big Bear to Polaroid. You can go on and on and on, all the different companies out there, where not just companies. You're starting to see, it was announced about 2-3 months ago, all over Today's Show, CNBC, Fox News. The state teachers retirement system of Kentucky is BROKE, broke. Now, how would you like to be a teacher, regardless of where you live? If it's Arizona, Ohio, Kentucky, anywhere in this nation, you expect to get a pension. But let's face it, the pension rules are changing. And that's one of the biggest concerns that I have, is educating people, because a lot of people wait too late to get educated on this so they can make an informed decision when it comes to their retirement.
Wow. You know, wow. Okay. I'm speechless. I'm speechless because one of the things that like hits me upside the head like a 2x4 is that you've got these people, and one of the things I love about Americans in general is at the core of us characteristics, we're hardworking people, no matter what the industry is. We're very hardworking, very intelligent society, and so and I've had aunts and uncles that were in the GM organization and the Chrysler organization. You know, they've since passed away, and that passed away. Like I think the last one passed away probably about 7 years ago. But I remember their whole life centered around like their retirement and the workers union and their pension plans and all of these things, and they lived a nice life. You know, they weren't really lavish, extravagant type people. They just wanted to work hard and be able to take care of their family. And I remember one of the first things you shared with me, and you touched on it a moment ago, was the time when you came home from school and your mother being at the kitchen table and having just lost your job. And I often wonder, looking back on the last recession that we're, you know, essentially out of, how many other people were impacted like that and are starting over, trying to rebuild basically their future at the end of the day. I mean, what are your comments on something like that?
Well, you certainly see that. You know, obviously unemployment's real low, but, you know, let's face it, if people were 55, 60 years of age at that time, they're looking for work, they probably didn't get a job. You know, unfortunately, there might be some age discrimination happening on, you know, that standpoint. But a lot of people kind of gave up, you know, and our unemployment's low because they went on Social Security. They didn't really look for a job. This happened back in the 80s with my mom. You know, not only did it affect my mom, that plant closed. Over 800 people lost their jobs. And, you know, let's face it, with this, you know, trade and all this other stuff, there's going to be a lot of changes. But one of the biggest things I get, Troy, that I hear from a lot of people, you know, these companies are now offering these lump sum pension buyouts. Instead of taking that monthly pension of $2,000 a month, people may get this opportunity to get a $500,000 lump sum. And that's where we really educate people on the options. Should I take that pension or should I take that lump sum? That's really what we kind of educate people on. And again, if you have that opportunity, you're with a major corporation. One great example, someone called in with my radio show back in Columbus, and we're on in Columbus as well as Dayton.
Nice.
A lady got an opportunity to take her pension from Sears. Remember Sears? Good old Sears? Well, guess what? They closed 85 stores about a month ago, and now they're offering lump sum pensions to their people. So again, if you're with Sears and they're offering you a lump sum, you better probably consider it, because who knows if they're going to be able to make those payments to you. So again, things like that. And again, we're starting to see a lot of changes happen with major corporations out there, and those that still are really those baby boomers. Those are going to be the last people that really have those pensions who are getting decent, you know, payouts. I mean, we have people getting 300, 500. We got clients getting over $1 million or even more when it comes to these lump sum pension buyouts. So again, if this is an option, you want to work with someone that truly understands your pension, is going to educate you on those options. And what happens if there's a pension mistake or error in your calculation? Who's checking for those things, Troy? We found pensioners as little as $10,000, as much as $125,000. I'll repeat that: $125,000 in someone's calculation.
Wow.
Okay. The important thing is not only do we know how to find there, we know how to get corrected. And again, there's a lot of things people can download at thepensiongroup.com. They can download their own retirement roadmap kit, what we call an RRK, and it goes over the 10 most common pension errors, how segmented rates. If these rates go up, people can lose a lot of money. We're anticipating probably $20,000 to $40,000 a year just for the average blue-collar worker. And really the 5 most common 401k mistakes. That's another area we specialize in helping people actively manage their 401ks at work. So we do more than just pensions. We can show people how we can actively manage their 401k while they're working, regardless of the corporation. If they have like a brokerage link, they allow us to go in to actively manage. A lot of corporations today, the reason why they add that is that, you know, we're a fiduciary. Takes away the fiduciary liability from the corporation, and it gives the employee much more options. And a lot of people don't know, you know, how we're going to integrate all this together. You know, do I take the pension? Can I access money prior to 59.5 from my 401k? The answer is yes, you actually can. If you pull the income out from your 401k, people can access their money penalty free. A lot of advisors out there don't know it. A lot of, just a typical investor doesn't know. They think I got to be 59.5 in order to take income from my 401k. As long as you're retired and you're 55 and above, you can access that money penalty free. And if people want to learn more about that, that's what that retirement roadmap kit goes into. So people can really take the first step in educating themselves, all across this country.
Well, and that's powerful because I get a lot of people that call me and they're like, well, I've got my 401k. I want to invest in real estate. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm not a financial advisor in that environment. I can show you what to do with the money after you get your hands on it. But to transition from that to this requires somebody of your caliber to come along and make sure that the train stays on the tracks and doesn't take a wrong turn somewhere.
Sure.
And I love surrounding myself with people like you, Mike, because you guys are geniuses at what you do in keeping up with the ever-changing laws and IRS. I mean, I'm referring to like IRS laws and retirement laws
Sure.
and stuff like that. And it's literally, to me, it's a full-time job to do that, to do what you do. And so I think that's fantastic. And you have a whole roadmap that people can go and download for free at your website, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's thepensiongroup.com.
Pensiongroup.com.
And we're going to be coming out with some WebExes here in the future as well on, pension versus lump sum, how to actively manage your 401k. Retirement healthcare is a big topic. And another one we're going to be covering is Social Security as well. So those will be coming out here in the next probably end of third quarter. We're going to be doing that because, again, we work with people all across this country, and we're really trying to educate as many people with our radio shows. We educate thousands and thousands of people each and every week, just like you do with your show, Troy, with your podcast and all that, is really educating people on their options. A lot of people don't know what the options are. Mm-hmm. And really what we stress is, understanding that. So when you come to retirement, it's not like, oh, how do I put this all together? You need to know your expenses, your budget, how much income you're going to need on a monthly basis. You and I know that because we deal with that all the time.
Sure.
From that standpoint. But, the average person has to look at those things and say, okay, well, how much have I saved? Maybe you're 5-10 years out from retirement. If you're 5 years out, should you be as aggressive as what this market's doing right now? My answer is typically no, because, let's say you had $500,000 in your 401k right now. And let's say we had another 08. Hopefully we never have it again. But let's face it, we know markets go up, markets come crashing down. Right. From that standpoint. And basically, when we think about that, we want to make sure that regardless of what ends up happening, your money's protected. What would happen if we get into a situation where you end up losing, $150,000 of your lump sum? So, right. That, or not of your lump sum of your 401k balance. So again, how aggressive are you when it comes to your 401k? Because let's face it, a lot of people out there, pensions, probably laughing, Mike, I don't have a pension. Maybe there's a lot of people that are listening to this through the podcast. All they have is that 401k, and that is their retirement nest egg. So it's even more important to protect what they have.
Well, exactly. And like, how do you guys work at all with like self-employed people and putting together retirement plans and stuff like that with them? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, personally, just with my own practice, we do that. We help small business owners. There's ways that you can do a solo 401k profit sharing. You can shelter $54,000 a year. You can also set up a cash balance pension plan. You can shelter another 120 up to 300,000 a year if you want to, depending on your income, limits and things along those lines. So there's a lot of ways to shelter a lot of money for your retirement. But, if we got someone making $1 million a year and you're 60 years old, how would you like to shelter 350? You can do that. That's a lot of money to be sheltering each and every year. But again, if you're self-employed, there's certainly some other options for people to consider. And obviously, depending on your income, you can really, maximize your, those retirement contributions, not just a standard $6,000 in an IRA or $18,000 in a 401k. Really supercharge it where you're putting away a lot of money and obviously you're reducing your tax liability.
No, that's exciting to hear because it's interesting because our client base really is kind of a twofold. We've got people that follow me because they want to move from being employee into being retired, and using their money for real estate note investing. And then I have people that follow me because they're in the note investing space and they're basically self-employed and investing in a lot of different ways and avenues. And there's some companies out there that teach some techniques and stuff like that, which are good companies. I think one of the things I love about what you do, Mike, is you're more of a well-rounded organization where it's not one-dimensional the way that you look at things. You'll actually come in and dissect a situation, a person's model, say, okay, we can do this, this, and this based on where you're at today. And they may have to change a few things going forward to maybe be in line or in place for something a year down the road. But that's what I love about, what it is you and your team do. So that's exciting. That's exciting. Another thing that dawned on me, and I didn't really think about this, it was just an element of being naive, is I thought all corporations offered basically pension plans. And as you mentioned, it's a very small percentage. And I've kind of, for lack of better words, tested that. We live about a mile away from Intel, their world corporate headquarters down the road here. And we have a lot of Intel neighbors and stuff. And some of them have been with Intel for 23, 24, 25 years. I'm like, oh, you must be getting close to retirement. And they're like, no, not really. And I said, well, what do you mean, Mike? Not really? Like, well, we don't really have like a retirement program. I mean, you don't have a retirement program at Intel, which was like eye-opening for me. Is that commonplace with these big corporations nowadays? Is that normal?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies aren't offering pension plans. They're putting all the responsibility on the employee. And what we mean by that is they're just offering a 401k plan. And if you're under 50, you can put about $18,000 into the 401k. But if you're only making $50,000, $60,000 a year, Intel's probably a lot different because they're probably making a lot more from that standpoint. But, very seldom are we seeing people maxing out on their 401k. Now, I have clients that we're managing over 7 figures in their 401k. We have several that we manage over 7 figures, but we got some people under 6 figures, certainly that we help manage. And again, regardless of the balance, we're going to help people actively manage their 401k. But, I get a lot of questions on my radio show. What's the amount I should be putting in my 401k? I say between 12 to 15%. Do an automatic increase of 1% a year. By the time you retire, you're putting 20, 30%. My highest client was doing 37% in his 401k. So again, if you're keeping that same standard of living, you're not overspending. Just like I grew up in a blue collar family. My mom worked at a meatpacking plant. My dad, retired fireman. They paid cash for their cars. Today we wouldn't ever think of that, but again, they lived within their means. Just like your aunts and uncles you talked about that worked back in GM back in the day. But we're in a different society today. And, the thing is, corporations are no longer offering pensions, especially to new hires. They may still have a pension obligation to those that have been there 20, 30, 40 years to have some type of pension. But, a lot are freezing their pension plans. But one of the biggest things I can tell you is the way a lot of lump sum pensions are calculated is that those that have pensions, if segmented rates actually go up, if they actually go up these segmented rates, it's going to drive their lump sum pension down, and people could lose $20,000 to $60,000 of their lump sum pension. And again, people need to understand, Troy, how their pension works. A lot of companies are year end, other companies are in March, but literally, if you retire one day too soon or one day too late, you could lose $20,000 to $60,000 of your lump sum pension. And to the average blue collar person, that's a lot of money. And again, we're seeing a huge trend right now. Like I do a lot with AT&T, I do a lot with Honda, other companies as well. They use November segmented rates, and we're seeing the trend that these rates are going to be going up. AT&T has till 12/31. Honda associates have till 3/1 to make a decision. But you retire one day too late, it's going to cost people a lot of money, or maybe they're not. Maybe no one's really taking the time to educate these people. Or Intel. Not that Intel has a pension, but think of another company, a power company. The power companies always have AEP here in Columbus. I'm sure you got one out in Arizona as well. Or a gas company. They all have pension plans. That they're never going to go away. Municipality, those types of service industries, if you will. State and government, local workers, post office. They're all going to have pensions, or teachers across this country are always going to have pensions. But again, how much are they going to get? And again, if this is a concern to them, and again, public pensions are calculated different than corporations. What I'm talking more is about the corporations. But again, it's a lot of money to be losing just because you don't understand your plan. And if you're getting ready to retire, I'll give you one quick example because I know we're limited on time, but I had a client retire from AT&T years ago, and she made no more than $55,000 a year. And in 2014, she lost $65,000 in a lump sum pension. So she went to work for, in a sense, free the following year. So again, if that's your situation, you don't want to get into that scenario, and that's where we really help evaluate and help people evaluate their situation.
Wow, I'm sitting here I'm in awe over these realities, and you almost call them like a harsh reality to somebody's situation, and my heart goes out to them to work to have to work basically an entire year for free just to make up a simple mistake is really a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. And it's one of those things where it goes back to what I often say. This falls under that category of things they never taught you in school, and so you're kind of left to navigate a lot of this on your own. And
sure.
Although I think most employers have some level of integrity when it comes to educating their employees on what their options are and the possibilities and things like that, whether they get into it on a granular level with each individual employee is a different conversation. And oftentimes they may just say, well, you're old enough and here's the material, so go read it, go understand it, and then let us know what you want to do. And that's exactly what happens, Troy.
Okay. I get that from a lot of people. HR, we got, clients, just, regular clients. We got middle management. We got people in HR, executives. We work with everyone. But the common theme I keep hearing from a lot of the people we help retire, I go to HR, I sit down with you in an hour, I better understand my options, because really HR is not in the job of dispensing out advice, because then the corporation puts themselves in a liable position. But again, the bottom line of it is we really help educate people on that. The best thing I can really tell people, we get a lot of people downloading, hundreds of these every month, is that retirement roadmap kit. Helps get you, somewhat up to speed on some of the things you should be looking at when it comes to your pension, your 401k, and if these segmented rates go up, how to protect yourself before that rate increase occurs. And again, maybe retirement's not on the horizon, but I had people say, Mike, I'm going to work 3 more years, and we just had someone retire 8-1. He says, I'm out of here. He was eligible, didn't make sense for him to work anymore. We looked at the numbers, he had enough that he could, retire. So again, that's the biggest thing I think we do, is help kind of go through the numbers, because a lot of people really haven't sat down with anyone to say, what are my numbers? Does this make sense for me to retire? My spouse is telling me I got to work another 10 more years when I want to get the heck out of there, right? So that's the thing that we really kind of go through. And when you look at the numbers, and again, if the numbers aren't right, we're going to tell you, hey, keep working. Your wife was right, keep working. But if it's not the case, then certainly we have that discussion where it makes sense to retire, and we go through all the paperwork. We help you go through that whole process.
Well, it sounds like one of the amazing values that your company offers is just the value of giving them education. Like, they can make an educated decision if they sit down with your firm, go through their numbers, what their goals are, and your team looks at it and says, okay, based on what we have here, you can retire today on X, or you can retire in 3 years on Y. And then they can sit there and decide what's best for them based on where they're at in their life. And
sure.
And that's, I think, like, we do that all the time. Like we'll meet with our accountant here next week, and although we're wrapping up the 3rd quarter of this year and we still have another quarter to go, we want to know exactly what we need to do over the next 90 days to maximize this year's income and investments and tax breaks and what we need to be doing as far as making sure that we've set aside enough money to pay our taxes and
sure.
doing all those things. And we do that religiously every year because that's what they do. They're professionals in keeping up with IRS tax laws and how they affect me and my business and other entrepreneurs and their businesses. And so having some, that's just good, and that's good stuff. And here's what I love more. Here's what excites me about this space, and even doing like this podcast and helping people, is that I get to surround myself and my people with your team and highly intelligent individuals that are masters at what they do, and bring it to the forefront. Because like we just mentioned, a lot of people just don't even know what to do with it. They're like, well,
true,
boss gave me this packet, I guess I'll go home and read it tonight, over Monday Night Football or something, and I'll let them know on Tuesday what I want to do, but yet really don't understand the complexity or what it's really saying at the end of the day.
Well, and the funny thing is, Troy, we always hear of the horror stories. And what I mean by horror stories, I had one guy, literally we helped. We saved him $40,000 of unnecessary taxes. He was going to take a $400,000 pension lump sum in cash. And he thought he was going to get $320,000. Well, you and I know, we deal with finances all the time. He was going to get about $180,000 of the $400 because of 20% federal. Well, first of all, he's going to jump himself up to a 39% tax bracket, taking $400,000. 10% premature payment penalty. What else do we get into? 5% for the state of Ohio. So, of the 400, he was only going to get, $180,000. So again, we showed him how to basically avoid those things. And the bottom line of it is, we continue to see this time and time again, where people are trying to do this on their own. Okay. This is what I do for a living. This is my area of specialty, from that standpoint. And again, we showed them how to do it properly, how to roll the money over properly, how to take the distribution from the 401k. And as a result, he saved over $40,000 of unnecessary taxes, from that specific standpoint. So that's really what I stress to people the most, is working with someone, regardless if it's someone at the pension group or someone in your local area. You want to work with someone that's truly a pension advocate, that truly understands your pension. And those other retirement options, if it's managing your 401k, whatever the case might be. And maybe you're working with an advisor, but they don't specialize in this. And again, shame on them. You need to be working with someone that truly understands those options, so you can maximize, just like we do from a business standpoint. We sit down with other professional CPAs to maximize, our overall tax strategies and things like that. You need to work with an advisor that truly has your best interest as mine, and someone that's a fiduciary as well.
Well, I think as I was sitting here listening to you, my brain goes to this idea of, people often say, well, how do the rich get richer? Well, they became wealthier because they surrounded themselves with professionals, tax professionals, financial advisor professionals, legal professionals. And they surrounded themselves with these people who, for lack of better words, were always kind of exclusive, I guess, at some level, with high net worth individuals and players in the market space. And therefore, they're able to save a lot of money on taxes and not give it to the government when it's not necessary, and they keep more of what they make. And what's exciting about today's era and today's time is now these same tools and resources are available to what I would call the average person, or the average American. And
sure,
we're going to help those people save more of what they, or keep more of what they earned. And, teams and companies like you doing what you do, and like my accountant, he runs about a 7-person accounting firm, and
sure,
does amazing stuff. So we're in exciting times. We're in really exciting times. So that's good stuff. So people can go to your website and they can download your financial roadmap, right?
correct.
And then I know a little secret about you, that you also have a book, right?
Yeah. retire financially independent, and retire from Honda. We've come out with 2 books that basically help people. If people want a free copy, they can go to the website. Ask for a free copy. We'll get them out a free copy. Just like I know you have a book too, Troy. So, the bottom line of it is we're trying to really help educate people all across this country, and it goes through pension versus lump sums, 401ks, how to actively manage that, retirement, healthcare, Social Security. We get into all those topics because when you really think about it, you need to know all those facets before you retire. The different buckets of money, as I like to call them. Where am I going to access my first bucket of money? What's that going to provide for me throughout retirement? How's Social Security going to play in? Should I take it at 62 or 67? Can I grow this lump sum pension even more if I roll it over into an IRA where it's safe, sound, secure? We get into a lot of those concepts overall, from that specific standpoint. And, I do a lot of different, TV across the country, segments. But, obviously I'm in Ohio, but I have clients in Alabama. We go out to California. Again, we do a lot of traveling to really help educate people. But again, we'll be coming out with this podcast, or if someone wants to get a copy of our book, they can certainly request that, or, again, download that retirement roadmap kit.
And you are a Ohio State Buckeyes fan, right?
Yes, I am. Don't get me started. We don't have enough time.
No, I love it. No, this, and there's this like 70s cool, 80s cool part of you as well, because you've interviewed Cheap Trick, is that correct?
Yeah, Cheap Trick. Yeah, I've been to American Idol and meet Keith Urban and J-Lo and all them, and actually I just got to went to one of his concerts, got a signed guitar by Keith Urban, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, so and I do the CMAs every year, so when people come into my office, they'll see a lot of different rock and roll type of stuff, and people I got to interview because of radio and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. It's a little different than the average advisor out there. Yeah.
It's awesome. I think it's one of those amazing secrets about you. I think it's one of those things where, because some people look at like investors and even financial advisors, even my tax guy, as being a bunch of stuffy old guys that are, pushing papers and flipping charts and stuff. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's a stigma that comes with the industry. But at the end of the day, we're human beings. We're people. We love to have fun.
Yeah.
We have.
Oh yeah, we're not stuffy. You and I aren't stuffy. We like to enjoy ourselves. You know what I mean? So hey, you got to go out. I love going to concerts. I love doing trips and traveling the world. But at the end of the day, we got to do what's right for our clients, and that's what we do. And I always put clients first. But you certainly I do enjoy interviewing some of those people and whatnot. But yeah, I think we got some. I don't know if we still have the interview from Cheap Trick on there or not, but it still might be on there as a podcast on our website. So check it out.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But, I appreciate you having me on, on your podcast. And hopefully, if we just get to the 1 or 2 people that can benefit from this, that's all that matters. Because, there's a lot of people out there that are in a situation. A lot of it's timing. For a lot of people, it's, I've been putting retirement off. We just got a call late last night from someone that has retired 8 years, way too aggressive in his portfolio from what he's telling me. He's like, Mike, I'm concerned about me losing what I've worked long and hard for, and, he's working with another firm. I won't mention the firm's name, but at the end of the day, why do you want to be 100% in stocks? Again, as we know, the market goes up, the market's comes crashing down. And if you're 1 to 3 years in retirement, or you're already in retirement, you can't afford to lose 30%, 50% of your portfolio. Because if you are retired, you don't go back to work again. So you need to be prudent when it comes to that, as far as your investments, and, how can you safeguard that? How can we use institutional money management to actively manage the portfolio? And again, these are some of the things we really sit down and hone in on with our clients, is to better understand their situation and what risks they're willing to take. Because a lot of people, when you say, Mike, if I got 300,000 and you lose 100,000 off the top, I'm not comfortable with that. Well, then you shouldn't be invested aggressively, because, that's probably, 60, 70% in equities. The next, bear market you'll incur a 30% loss. And if that happens, guess what? If you can't stomach that, you probably shouldn't be that aggressive, from that standpoint. So again, at the pension group, we do more than just pensions. We obviously do a lot with managed money, helping people managing their assets, 401ks or other retirement accounts. Again, because it all kind of comes together. But our specialty is really, understanding those pensions, because a lot of people, they don't have a clue. People bring in their 45 pages, and Mike, and I know what pages we got to fill out, understand the process people have to go through, what needs to be signed, things along those lines. And that's really what's important, to really hold those people's hands through the entire process, because it can be a very, scary thing. Is it the right thing? Well, if you're not sitting down with someone that truly understands the numbers, of course they're going to say, yeah, retire, but that may not be in your best interest. So again, understanding your situation and your expenses, and doesn't make sense to retire, that's what we'll do. And one of the things I'll throw out, for the first 10 callers that call in and they mention your show, Thriving Investor, I'll do a complimentary consultation. I won't charge a fee. I'll give them a half an hour of my time, Troy, to help them kind of better understand their situation. But all they got to do is mention you, and I'll provide it as a courtesy for the first 10 callers.
That's great. I appreciate that, Mike. And I'm sure there'll be a number of people, if not all of them, taken up here in a short period of time. One of the things I love
and
about—
they can reach me. I'll give them the office number real quick. It's area code 614-423-4600. Again, the office number is area code 614-423-4600.
And what's your website address, Mike?
It's thepensiongroup.com.
Thepensiongroup.com. Okay, and that's where they can get their roadmap. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Well, one of the things that I've always loved about you, Mike, is you've got an amazing heart, and you and I. One of the things that's always a tough thing to stomach as investors and as advisors and people in our position is when we learn about something after the fact and can't change it, and we just have to kind of pick up from where they're at and move forward. And if you're out there listening and you're coming upon retirement, whether that's a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now, Mike's group is a great group to sit down with and say, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to get to, and they'll customize a plan for you to get to that point, so you don't have any regrets down the road. And I know that that's what we want to avoid at all costs, especially after the amount of hard work that people put into their careers and their jobs and stuff like that. So
and one of the things that I'll kind of end, Troy, I tell people this all the time, seminars I do all across the country, different segments on TV, but I really tell people this: you got one opportunity. Truly, you got one opportunity to do this right the first time, because you may never get a second chance. I mean, it's true, because how many times have you seen people where they make the wrong decision and then they lose everything, and now what do? I got to go back to work. Or my retirement, I lost a third of it, I lost a half because I listened to someone's advice, or maybe you're trying to do this on your own and you're too aggressive and don't realize that this market can eventually go the other way. Again, it's not like a shoe just all of a sudden drops. And I remember way back the last bull market, the mortgage crisis. You remember it, I know that. We've talked about that time and time. You've helped a lot of people, save their homes, and I commend you on that. And that's one of the endearing qualities that you have, is your big heart as well. But again, people don't remember that. They don't forget that time frame. And again, think how bad it was back then. And again, we've been up for the last 10 years. We're in the longest bull market ever in U.S. market history right now. Will this continue? I don't have that crystal ball, but eventually we know markets go up, markets come crashing down. I mean, there is an opportunity for another correction or another, bear market. And again, if that's a concern to you, you're getting closer to retirement, don't do this alone. Either give us a call at 614-423-4600 or go to thepensiongroup.com. And download that information to get started. Because one of the biggest things a lot of people do is they procrastinate. We all know that. We don't put it, we continue to put this off until it's too late, or, they're 6 months before retirement. Maybe now's the best time. So again, I appreciate your time, taking time today, Troy, to go through this with me, and hopefully we can just change one person out there to, make a positive impact.
Well, I appreciate your time today as well, Mike. It's been an awesome opportunity. I know we've talked about this a couple times over the last 6 months to get together and do this, and And then when I woke up this morning and saw that we were doing this on today's calendar, I was excited. It's never, I never walk away from our conversations with anything but excitement, and just it's just an honor. I mean, I can't put it into words because I'm kind of speechless right now, because it's really kind of a dream come true to have you here and your team. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you guys stand for, and I'm excited to bring this to our listeners. I know there's people out there listening to this that are going to benefit, and I'm excited to be able to give that to them and see how it saves them in some fashion or helps them in some fashion. So thank you so much, Mike. I truly appreciate it. It's been an honor.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it as well, and I appreciate your friendship. And we look forward to having you on our radio shows as well, and in the near future. And take care, my friend.
All right, buddy. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the thriving investor community. Please share this podcast with a friend or a business associate that you know, like you, is interested in learning from top mentors in the non-traditional investing, real estate, crypto, blockchain, buying debt, and so much more. Troy wants to give you a gift, so go to troyfullwood.com/book to get your free copy of Troy's latest book, The Power of Paper. Again, that's troyfullwood.com/book to get your free gift. Go check out the latest episodes and shows at the Thriving Investor community at thethriving investor.com.